Welcome. I realize these videos aren't going to be perfect, but we're just going to get the job done. We're making fried rice today. Everybody loves it. My sons love it. My daughter and I love it. My clients love fried rice. It's easy. And the goal is that we're trying to eat less protein each meal. Because if the FDA is telling us you want to eat on average 50 grams a day, if that's a 2,000 calorie diet, then that would be approximately 15 grams per meal. And I'm just giving you a rough estimate here. So in order to stay within those limits, we sort of have to move away from flesh because that is the most concentrated source of animal protein. Because as I mentioned, just one 6-ounce chicken breast has 50 grams of protein. So there goes the whole allotment for the day. And if you're kind of wondering, well, wait, how is this happening? How is this possible? I thought we were supposed to eat protein. Think of it from a logical perspective. If we continue with our population growth as it is, it's not possible to speed up the assembly lines in the slaughterhouses any faster than they already are. They're already inhumane enough. And animals are already so crowded in factory farms, and our consumption of animal flesh has increased so much. I don't know the exact figure, since the 1950s, for instance. Back then, people ate more filler food, pasta, potatoes, rice. These are foods that have been eaten by civilizations for centuries, and they have protein in them too, and they have lower levels. So a cup of brown rice has maybe 5 grams of protein, and an egg has maybe 8. So we're gonna make a stir fry and use those ingredients to create our meals. And they're still gonna be yummy and delicious, and on top of everything else, you're gonna feel amazing. So when you cook with me, it's very simple, because I just don't believe in the big complicated recipes. I think they're awesome, and if somebody wants to spend their time doing that, then there's lots of recipes out there on the internet and lots of cooks that are a lot better than I am. So this is really just more a simple version of what we're trying to accomplish. Now my stove is always clicking. There's really only 3 ingredients here that we're adding to our stir fry. We're using sesame oil, because it's got a lot of nice flavor to it. It gives the meal that Asian taste. And then we're adding sherry and soy sauce. Now I use a soy sauce that doesn't have any unhealthy additives to it, doesn't have any MSG in it, so it's called liquid aminos. And this is made with soybeans still, just like soy sauce is. If you're allergic to soy, you could use liquid aminos. I don't think I have that with me right now, but it's another option. Not liquid aminos, coconut aminos, sorry. All right, so like I said, we're gonna drizzle sherry and soy sauce over it at the top, and we're gonna cook it in our sesame oil. So we throw that in, right? Not too much, we keep it very light. And we're gonna be making a little divot in the middle, and we're gonna be adding some egg to it. Okay, so we're gonna cook our vegetables. And while we're doing that, I just wanna mention to you that you could also use quinoa. If you didn't wanna use brown rice, quinoa has even more protein in it. I think instead of 5 grams in a cup, it's more like 8 grams in a cup. You could use quinoa. There's nothing saying that the grain has to be rice, all right? Now, also, you don't necessarily have to eat shrimp with your stir fry or diced up in your stir fry. I'm just trying to show you this as just additional options. So you already have the protein from the rice, and you already have the protein from the egg that we're gonna add. But another nice little addition is to serve some shrimp, especially for people who aren't wanting to do your more plant-based thing. So 4 large shrimp have 15 grams of protein. And the nice thing about them is you can portion them out in little pieces, and it's easier to control your consumption, right? So when we do the shrimp, the easiest thing to do is just, you always add a little bit of oil to cook it in, right? And, I was at my friend's house, and when she made me some shrimp, actually she didn't make it for me. We had leftover shrimp. And I said, wow, this tastes really good. And she's like, oh, it just has some cumin and maybe some onion powder, some salt and pepper. She just had some very simple spices on it. And so I thought I would just show you the same thing. And of course, you could use these shrimp on just about anything. So the onion powder's not coming out. but you know, put a little, we're just putting flavoring on it. So we get some onion powder. I did put some cumin. I brought some cumin out to try. Spices are loaded with nutrients, so it's nice to cook food and spices whenever possible. Then we have a little bit of pepper. Oops, a lot of pepper actually. Now she also used some lemon juice, which I don't have. Actually, I have a lime here. It's nice to add a little bit of lime to it. Squeeze some lime in it. I think the idea is that we're just cooking the shrimp and it's going to absorb all these flavorings, right? And if we want to add a little bit of salty flavor to it, we can add some of this liquid aminos, aka soy sauce. All right, now when you make your brown rice, you're cooking these vegetables. Probably would cook them more than I am, but you don't want them too overly cooked. And then we are going to add our rice. Now, or our quinoa. Get frozen rice, it's easier. It's just a whole other step to have to cook rice. And then to make fried rice, you're really supposed to freeze it and use rice frozen so it's not sticky when you're cooking it. So instead, it's so much easier. This is an organic brown rice and I got it at Whole Foods. So, wow, this is a big container. I'm not gonna add this other rice, but oftentimes when I use smaller frozen rice packets from Trader Joe's, I'll add this Japanese style fried rice, and it has a little bit of soybean in it. I'll just pour a little bit on top so you can see it. Looks a little bit different. And since it has the soybean, it ups the protein content. So 1 cup of this, it says, is 7 grams of protein. So essentially, you're just getting your grain in there. Still has protein, because you have to remember, grains are perfect packages. It's a grain is how a blade of grass grows, right? And so it that grain has to have, that seed has to have a lot of nutrients in it so that it can grow a plant. And that's why they're so perfectly healthy for us. So here we have our brown rice. We're going to cook it a while, and you're frying it essentially. You're cooking it at high heat. I have my heat very high, and we want it to brown. So let it sit there for a little while. Let it cook. And then all we're doing is cracking eggs into the middle of the pan. Simple. I just crack it right on the pan. Let her rip. And then for this size, yeah, put 2 in. You can put more if you really wanted to. It's totally up to you. And then what I usually do, and there's no set way to do it, I usually chop it up in the middle and let it cook in the middle. Let it sort of bind together and then toss it with the rest of the rice. Otherwise, you could end up with the rice just has an overall coating on it and you can't really see the pieces of the egg. It just looks more pretty if you let it cook in the middle first. And now this actually tastes really, it smells really yummy because it's got the lime and it's got the seasonings, and I'm just kind of soaking it around in it. You know that shrimp cooks really fast, so this is a really easy, quick meal because you can keep frozen shrimp in your freezer, take it out, cook it frozen, throw it in any kind of seasoning you want, and you have a nice, perfectly proportioned package of protein. And it's yummy. But of course, you could use other protein. You could use a 6-ounce piece of 50-gram chicken. But now you know, I want to make that chicken spread out into the whole dish. I'm not going to just eat that for myself. We're not going there anymore because now the scientists are telling us it's not healthy. So here you go. See how it's getting white in the middle? It's starting to cook up. And then as it sets, see, it's kind of yellow, just scraping it up on the bottom. You could use a wok too. Now all we're doing now is we're mixing it together. I'm just wanting to speed up this process so you can see the whole shebang. So now we have our stir fry. Now I had carrots and onions in the pan that I sauteed first, and I guess I forgot to mention that to you, but you could start out with carrots and onions. You don't have to. I'm showing you options. You could buy a frozen rice that already has other vegetables in it, or you could buy a package of frozen vegetables, frozen onions and carrots, right? And cook it up. And now you're gonna, like I said, you don't want it to get mushy, so let it sit let it sit, and let it cook. And then, as it browns on one side, you want to kind of stir it up again. Now, the next step after we have our whole brew cooked is we're going to drizzle sherry into the dish, and we're going to use some liquid aminos. Depending on how salty you want your dish is how much you want to put into it. That, my friends, is it. You stir it up, let all the liquid cook off. I sort of rushed things here. Now, if you absolutely love shrimp and you want this flavor all throughout your meal, dice it up small. And then every bite has shrimp in it, right? If you don't really care one way or another and you're just saying, well, I want a couple pieces of shrimp. I do want to up my protein a little bit in the meal. I want to shoot for my 15 grams per meal, which you absolutely do not have to do. You do not have to have 50 grams of protein a day. That's just a benchmark. Anyways, you could dice it up and mix it in, or you could toss it on the top and eat it over the top. So that, my friends, is stir-fried brown rice. It may not look as enticing and as brown as it normally is, but that's because we sort of rushed the cooking. But I think you're gonna love it. It's super, super easy. You're usually gonna have vegetables on hand that you can throw in, or frozen vegetables on hand. Everybody usually has eggs lying around, and try to make sure to have some sort of frozen grain ready to go in the freezer, whether it be quinoa or rice. So I hope you like it. It makes an awesome leftover. It's really deliciously satisfying. You're not gonna feel really heavy when you get up from the table. You're gonna feel awesome. And I hope you like it. Talk to you later. Bye.